If you're watching this video, odds are you have some kind of relationship with Magic the Gathering, some relationship with the game, with the cards, with your collection. It could be good. It could be a mutually beneficial, symbiotic relationship that's improving the quality of your life. And then you are enjoying the game, you're enjoying the collecting, you're enjoying the investing, whatever it might be. It could be not a great relationship. I don't know what that looks like because my relationship with Magic is great. But everyone's got a story, right, of their investment, not just money-wise, but in their time, in their free time, and their emotional investment into Magic, the brain space investment into Magic. Everyone's got a story. And on the other side of things, there's also your relationship with money, which is obviously much more complicated and ubiquitous. Everybody in life has a relationship with money. Not everybody in life has a relationship with Magic until, enough Universes Beyond come out. Then everybody will have a relationship with Magic. Until then, so how does this money thing tie in? Well, in my life, my relationship with money has had a lot to do with my relationship with Magic because Magic is the primary way I use my fun money. And that started from a young age. I mean, I remember in high school asking parents, asking relatives for Magic cards for Christmas or birthdays. I remember saving up money that my parents would pay me for grades. And so, I was one of those kids. And I get paid for grades, and then that could lead to purchasing a booster box at the end of the school year, or buying singles for a new commander deck, or I was making 60 card decks at the time. And so I remember building this really cool Reanimator deck where I just bought big worms and scary creatures like a chroma that you could reanimate. It was fun. It was a good time. But that was my relationship with money and my relationship with Magic and how those things went together. And the story evolves, right? Because when I get into college and I have no money, and the question is like, what is my relationship with Magic? And I had some cards and I'd still play and I would still try to speculate and to flip. I bought, Mythic editions on eBay, and I actually got mine. I didn't get the sheet because I actually got my Mythic editions. If you don't know, I talk about Mythic edition a lot just because it's such a tremendous victory for me. But Mythic editions were essentially like one of the first kinds of collector booster boxes they ever came out with, except it wasn't a collector's booster box. It was different, but they sold them on eBay and they oversold somehow. They had 12,000 units. That's how many they published that they made. And they oversold like hundreds or thousands of these things. And so as a sorry, Wizards of the Coast sent uncut sheets of War of the Spark to people who bought it on eBay, but didn't actually get it. But I bought it on eBay and I actually did get it. And the money from that helped me in a time in my life when I didn't have a lot of money. And so this relationship, and then, I become a professional and I'm making good money. And then suddenly Magic is something I'm able to invest in, and not just invest in like monetarily. I actually don't have cases of play booster boxes in a closet somewhere gaining value, although that would be cool. What I really mean is buying cool cards that I want to play with in decks, building cool decks, building competitive modern decks that are budget, but still competitive, and going and winning tournaments. Very fun, very satisfying. But it was enabled, like I wasn't able to play Magic and have a relationship with Magic that way when I was 16, right? Like I could play a budget deck at a standard event, but it was like so budget that it could not compete at all. There's like no good cards in it, right? But as a professional, as a young professional, I'm able to take some of my money and, thanks to the graciousness of my wife, use that towards Magic cards that I'm able to play competitively and win. And not win a lot or anything, but just win. And it's fun. So fun. And then, of course, I get to a space where I am no longer just buying cards for myself. I'm buying cards with the intention to sell. And, you can see like on the shelf behind me, some collector boxes that I have no intention on selling, that I'm just collecting, that I like to have on a shelf to look pretty. The evolution, the picture I'm trying to paint here is that you have a story with Magic. And that story likely involves money, unless you're like a full-on proxy king. And if you are, I salute you. But for everybody else, you've got a relationship with Magic and a relationship with money. And it is interesting to take a step back and think about that relationship and think about where you want to go. Where do you want to take this relationship, right? It's like maybe you've done the speed dating, you've done the first date. Where do you want to go with this relationship with Magic, in this relationship with money and Magic? And there's lots of directions you can go. But what I'm going to talk about here is bolstering that relationship such that you are accumulating wealth in your relationship with Magic the Gathering. You are building value in the cards you have, in the collection you have, in the investment you have, that you can turn a profit on someday, or it can just be something valuable that you own and you keep and oh, this is gained in value. It doesn't have to be you liquidate it, but it's just a reality that we want to accumulate more, right? We want to own the expensive booster boxes. We want to own the expensive cards. Unless you don't. And if you don't, that's okay. But for the rest of us, here's some strategies. So let's dive in. 4 groups I'm going to talk about. I'm going to talk about players. I'm going to talk about collectors. I'm going to talk about investors. I'm going to talk about sellers. And all 4 of these have a relationship with Magic and a relationship with money and opportunities, strategies you can think about that will grow your wealth. And if you're proactive, if you're smart about this relationship, you can see tremendous growth, like I've seen, where I'm at a point now where I kind of don't want for any cards between buying and selling collections and opening and selling booster boxes and profits I make from the hobby. It's totally self-sustained, where each way that I enjoy Magic, which I am a player, I am a collector, I am an investor, and I am a seller, I feel fulfilled. I feel like I have a great relationship with my money and with Magic. And so let's talk about what I've done. Let's talk about what you can do. So we'll go in that order. We'll start with players. Players, I love players. I love the game of Magic. And I love the relationship you can have with money, with Magic as a player. And this is what I mean, because people it's so frustrating. But I understand where it comes from when people say Magic is pay to win. It's actually not. And this is what I mean. It's pay to play, but it is not pay to win. What you would expect in a pay to win game is that whoever pays more money is more likely to win. And yes, you can see that, you can feel that in some ways when you play like a Commander game and somebody's playing Rhystic Study and Force of Will and Pact of Negation or Force of Negation or whatever. It can feel that way. It can feel like, oh, there's these expensive cards, they're just better, they're just winning. But what's beautiful about Magic is that for every $50 card, there is a 10-cent card that counters it. And not just counterspell, but just counters it. And so, if you look at Magic winning decks in Standard, in their prices, there is not a correlation. I did this regression, I did the statistical analysis when I was in college, and the connection between money and how likely you are to win is 0. However, there is of course, a starting point. Like you need to spend, $100, $200, $500 on a deck, but the $500 decks were not more likely to win tournaments than the $100 decks on average through the span of the 8 years I was looking at Standard winnings. So Magic isn't pay to win. I think Magic players get rewarded for being creative, for looking for win cons, looking for good cards, looking for the diamond in the rough. And this is also the number one wealth accumulation strategy for players in Magic the Gathering. If you play Commander, building strong Commander decks that aren't putting in the most expensive cards, but are putting in what do we call expensive? When I think of an expensive card, I think of $50 plus or $30 plus. When I think of semi-expensive, I'm thinking of $10 to $30. And then of course, cheaper cards are $5 or less or whatever. If you build a strong deck out of relatively cheap cards, $15 under for every single card, if it's a strong deck, that deck is going to be worth much more in the near future. Because what happens in Commander is that you get these new commanders come out that have strategies of old commanders, and suddenly these old cards that are played with these old commanders raise in value as people realize they're good. And so the reality is, if you just play with good cards and you create decks that have good cards, the value goes up. And yeah, I guess it's simpler said than done, but I can show you an example of kind of what I'm thinking about right now. As a player who's interested in growing the value of my collection, I think I'm going to build Grothama, All Devouring, as a commander deck. This commander, not very good, doesn't matter. But what matters is when I look through here on EDH Rec and I'm thinking about, okay, what cards do I want to put in this deck? I'm looking for essentially the like $1 to $12 cards, maybe like $15. I'm looking for the greater, well, and I guess here's a call out too. The cards that are less known. The cards that are good, but they're not well known, are the real value pieces. Something like Stuffy Doll. Stuffy Doll is great, incredibly powerful card, combos with lots of stuff, not very well known. Vigor's well known. The odds that Vigor is going to like double, triple in price is pretty low. There's just so many eyes on it, right? Selavala, Heart of the Wild, was like a $20 card. Now it's $3 because it's been reprinted a few times. Will it get reprinted more? Probably. But it's still one of these cards that feels like a good pickup just because its history has been so high. So you see what I'm doing. Some of you are watching or listening and you're thinking like, what you're doing is ruining the game. I want to play Magic, not find the number game or whatever. I think this is fun. I think it is so fun to go through the cards here and say, Ulvenwald Tracker, 2 mana tap, target creature you control fights another target creature for $4. It's really good in this deck. It's a really unique ability. I like it. I'm going to buy it. And the price plays a role in here because I don't want to spend, $500 on a commander deck. I just don't. I want to spend, $200 and get some incredible cards such that this deck is going to be worth $400, $500, $600 in a couple of years. That is the strategy for players. That is what I recommend. Build your decks intentionally with cards that have upside. I could go more into it. I could talk more about it, but we got quite a few other buckets to get into. And so let me know in the comments if you need an entire video dedicated to players and building your collection in a way that is going to accumulate value. All right, collectors. Let's talk about what collectors should do. Collectors should collect what they love. The idea behind a collector is that you're not buying and collecting with the intention that you have to sell the things. It's that you enjoy owning whatever it is, whether it's cards, whether it is sealed product. You buy it and you hold on to it because you enjoy it. And that is awesome. And like I said, this shelf behind me and some of the stuff, you see some of the stuff rotates through because I sell it. I'm certainly more of a seller than a collector, but I do collect. I do think it is awesome to own collector booster boxes, which are also just like an obviously great collector piece. If they weren't so far away, I'd grab them and show you, but they're small. They are small, they're good looking, they're valuable, and they appreciate. All these things just feel great as a collector's piece. What else is collectible? In general, items that are not going to be reprinted or recreated. Another good example are gift bundles. My stream, my chat, shout out to my chat, who every Monday night, 8:30 Eastern Daylight Time, whatever time zone I'm in, I hop on stream from 8:30 to 9:30 p.m. And this last stream, we took a look at a bunch of products that we expect to pump. And we're looking at a lot of fancy bundles. Things like the Phyrexia All Will Be One bundle, or the Codex bundles, or the Chocobo bundles, or the Duskmourn Nightmare bundles. And what's interesting about all of these is that they have appreciated. Often, a lot of these came out like around $100 and went up to around $200. Some of these came out around like $150, $170, and they're at $200 now. It's a little bit of a fickle thing, but they're another product that feels good in a collection. By that, what I mean is that they're small. They have lots of incredible pieces in them. You can collect the cards inside of them. You can collect the special treatments. And then, of course, there's other collectible aspects of it too, like dice or whatever other stuff. Yeah, I'm a big fan. Now, talking about collecting and how to maximize your value in collecting is kind of weird because the point isn't necessarily to maximize value, just like it isn't in playing. But you can intentionally collect knowing these are the things that are going to appreciate. It doesn't feel good to buy something thinking that it's rare and scarce, so then it's not. So let me talk about what's rare and scarce. Bundles that contain collector booster boxes in them, specialty bundles, rare and scarce. Collector booster boxes, rare and scarce. So the collector booster pack in general has been designed, and Wizards has done a good job in recent years making them rare and scarce. Old products, especially products that came out before Return to Ravnica, rare and scarce. There's some newer products to them been printed and are kind of, have dried out. I'm not thinking of many examples at the moment, but it is just a reality that collecting feels better when you're collecting something that is scarce and is rare and it holds value. And so, I might have just said a lot of kind of vagueness, but that's because collecting is just such a subjective thing. It's certainly not objective. Let's talk about something that's a little more objective, like investing. Investing is fascinating to me for a couple of reasons. I'm sharing my screen of collector booster box prices, what you could buy them for, and then what the sales price is, and what it's been over the years. So things in 2020, for example, some of these prices aren't loading, but for example, you could have bought a Theros Beyond Death booster box from your local game store for $240, and today it sells for $299. After shipping and fees, you net out about $250, which means you would have made $9. $9 from $240 over 6 years is about 1.25% yearly. Not an incredible return, but you go to 2023 and you look at something like the Lord of the Rings collector booster box, which when they came out, they were pumping. Many stores were selling them for around $400. The price today, $1,286 after shipping and fees. That's $1,000. You net $667. That's 55% gains every year since 2023. Incredible. Some go negative, right? That March of the Machine Aftermath booster boxes have lost value if you bought them for $240, which I don't know if anybody did. Hopefully people didn't, but the price has gone down, like especially after shipping and fees. You're losing quite a bit of money, negative 12% gains year over year, but it averages out. So what the kind of thesis of this whole sheet is that if you look at all of the collector booster boxes averaged out, bought as a group. So since 2021, since the 2020 aren't loading. So 2021, 4% annual return on average from each of these collector booster products that you could have bought in 2021. Not incredible, but also not the worst. Keep in mind, this is after shipping and fees. You would net 4% year over year selling in 2026, stuff you bought in 2021. In 2022, that return jumps up to 7%. In 2023, it skyrockets up to 38%, 39%. Incredible returns from the products you could buy in 2023. In 2024, 44% returns thanks to Bloomburrow, Foundations, Fallout, collector booster boxes. Incredible returns. 2025, this was 1 year ago. Yes, there are some stinkers. We have Aetherdrift and Spider-Man and Avatar, which have, if you bought them, from your local game store, so not at incredible prices, you would have negative returns in 1 year. But still, despite that, thanks to Edge of Eternity's, Final Fantasy, Tarkir Dragonstorm, and Innistrad Remastered, you would still net 24% returns in 1 year from buying these collector booster boxes. Absolutely incredible. It is mind-breaking how lucrative collector booster boxes have been in recent years. I made a video yesterday about how things are just spiking in Magic, and we're feeling that. Old collector booster boxes are becoming more expensive. New collector booster boxes are just coming out expensive and becoming more and more expensive. It feels like a relatively easy win as an investor to buy collector booster boxes, hold on to them, sell them later. Now, we don't have a ton of data on this. Like I said, the boxes from 22 and 21, 20 aren't that valuable. Their returns haven't been incredible. You'd make more money from investing for 3 years since 23 than you would for investing from 5 years since 21. But all that is to say is that there's obviously a lot of opportunity here with collector booster boxes. There's other opportunities, obviously. There are things like cases of draft or set or play booster boxes for sets that are rotating out of standard or rotating out of print. If you're buying cases of Lost Caverns of Ixalan right now in anticipation that the set is going to kind of retire. Now, I believe there's going to be a reprint. I mean, everybody says there's going to always be a reprint of everything. So I don't actually know anything. But obviously, reprints for play, set, draft, booster boxes will greatly impact the value of your portfolio in the short term. But if you're an investor that's planning on holding on for 5+ years, at least 3+ years, then that shouldn't phase you, not in a big way. Now let's talk about, so I talked about investors, but let's talk about they're kind of investors, but not really. They're the flippers, the people who come in, get the stuff, sell it, get out. Flipping, once again, collector booster boxes, extremely great for flipping. Like I said, 2025, if you just flipped those collector booster boxes from 2025, less than a year later for most of them, 24% returns after shipping and fees. Absolutely incredible. Easy, quick tendies. There's lots of kind of scalpable products like this. A lot of secret lair products. You have to be savvy though. A lot of secret lair products are flippable. We just saw the Festival Unbox Las Vegas 2026 come out. That was easy tendies. People were able to buy a sealed box of Mystery Booster 2 that also came with this secret lair, that also came with a Consecrated Sphinx, all for $200, when the boxes of Mystery Booster 2 before this reprint were selling for $300+. It's just easy money. And we all hate scalpers. So if you're a scalper, you should feel very bad about yourself. All right. The other point I want to make before we talk about sellers is that for all of these things, less so as a player, but still important as a player, but as a collector, as an investor, the value, I mean, particularly as an investor, the value of your collection, of your investment, really hinges on the price you buy at. And your ability to source product at a great price is going to be critical. In general, TCG Player does not have the cheapest prices, not for sealed booster boxes and products. I have often found that there's cheaper prices on eBay. I've often found cheaper prices on other websites like Stomping Grounds or Forge and Fire, or let me show off. I've talked about this a couple times, but this is the website for MVP Sports and Games. And to get access to this website, you have to actually log in. But to get access, my understanding, I don't guarantee this, not a sponsor, I'm just shouting out a store that sells stuff for relatively cheap, is if you go into TCG Player and buy something from them, they might send you an invite to this website. I was able to buy Secrets of Strixhaven play booster boxes. They're selling them for $120 now, but I was able to buy 6 for $100 each at release. And that is just to point out that if you're a collector, if you're an investor, if you're a player, there are some great deals out there. If you put in the time and the effort, and honestly just time and experience in the hobby, if you are looking around saying hey, I really want the Strixhaven Commander deck set, how can I get those at a good deal? And you're looking around Discords, you're looking around YouTube, you're looking around websites and just Googling the sets and looking at the shopping tab and seeing what different places are selling them for. There are great deals out there that can really help you. Now, also, don't get scammed, because there's a lot of scam websites out there. So, Google the website before you buy from them. Make sure they've got great reviews. Make sure they're, well-known, well-established. Because if you're buying on eBay or TCG Player, there's buyer protections. But if you're buying from some random Shopify store, you can just get hosed. You can do a chargeback or whatever, but just don't do it. Don't buy from scammers, even if it's on accident. Don't accidentally buy from scammers. Wow, we're really cooking with these life advice here. Right. Okay, one more group I want to talk about. Let's talk about sellers. How do sellers grow their value in the hobby? And it might sound obvious. It's they just sell stuff. But once again, it really comes down to, what are you able to buy things at? What kind of prices are you able to buy things at? Let me show you my spreadsheet for this year for what I have been able to buy collector booster boxes at. And I know I'm talking a lot about collector booster boxes. This matters for singles. This matters for other sealed products. But you can see here, I was able to buy Lauren Eclipsed collector booster boxes for $265 each. That was from a Patreon program where the person running it was selling at essentially distribution cost. And I was able to buy. I think I just bought one and I think it's behind me, but so not massive quantities or anything. Strixhaven was one where I was able to secure a couple booster boxes for $275, but I then found a different store online that was selling them for $325, and I bought a bunch there, flipped most of them, have one on the shelf behind me, and made good money. So as a seller and as a kind of a flipper, there's lots of opportunity if you're able to source stuff at a good price. And as a seller, this matters so much for your general inventory too, for the bulk collections that you buy, for the expensive collections you buy. The percentage that you pay of market just matters so much, compounds so much, because this is the deal. If you're buying collections at 70% of market, you're able to sell, and after shipping and fees, you're able to net, like, let's say 15% of the value. So if you buy an $1,000 collection for $700, you're able to sell the cards, and hopefully it's not $1,001 cards. Hopefully, it's like ideally $10 $100 cards. That'd be the dream. But that would be too good to be true to buy for 70% of market. In general, the more concentrated the value is, the harder it is to negotiate a lower price. So, and also, if you're going to buy $1,001 cards, they'd be lucky to sell that to you for like $500. So anyways, if you're able to get that 15%, so that $150, you spent $700 on a collection, you're able to sell it after shipping and fees, net $850. That money is now money you're able to reinvest into your business, hopefully buying more expensive collections, but still keeping those margins. And so you just grow. And if you're able to, imagine, I don't think this is realistic, especially not in this market, but imagine if you're able to buy at 65%, you'd be able to grow that much faster, right? And so the point of selling, the mindset you need to have when you're selling and trying to grow your business is what has the velocity, what is going to sell, and what can I make the margins on such that I can churn and burn, such that I can get the product, sell the pieces, get the money to buy more product, to sell those pieces, to get more money to buy the product, to sell those pieces. It's a virtuous cycle. And the sourcing, once again, it's why I make so many videos about sourcing, but the sourcing is just so critical for everything. You really want to find, whether it's sealed or collections or, booster boxes you're going to open up or commander decks you're going to open up, you really want to find the margins where you're able to just maximize your profit. Once again, revolutionary things coming out of Capital Catalyst today, coming from Nick. But right now, Modern Horizons 3 cases you can buy off of eBay for $210 a box. I think it comes out to $12.60. That's 210 times 6. Yeah. You can just open those things up, sell the pieces, parts inside. There's a lot of $1, $2, $3 cards. So it's not, it's not no effort, but selling isn't no effort. Flipping is low effort, but selling takes time. Selling takes effort. And you can turn, $1,200 into $1,500 and then turn $1,500 into $2,000. And you can just keep going. And that's the thing with selling, is that you can just grow and grow and grow, assuming that you don't have to take money out of the business. If you're doing this full time, then you need money to live and pay your rent and stuff. But alas, okay. Let me know. Let me know if this is helpful. Maybe it wasn't helpful, and that's okay. Let me know. Thanks for watching, and subscribe. Subscribe if you like this stuff. We're going to talk more about it in the future. So thanks for being here.